I never really considered myself a thrill seeker, but sometimes curiosity gets the better of you. That's how I ended up at the party I'm about to tell you about, a night that still makes my skin crawl when I think about it. It was a Saturday in late October, right in the middle of Halloween weekend. My friends and I had been scrambling to find a good party since everything else was either sold out or over capacity. We wanted something wild, but not overcrowded with people spilling drinks all over each other. A friend of a friend, someone none of us knew too well, sent us a message saying they'd found a party in an abandoned building just outside of town. No cover charge, just bring your own booze. The location was dropped into the group chat, and after some back and forth, we decided to check it out. The place was about 20 minutes outside the city limits, nestled at the end of a long, winding road that barely looked drivable. There were no streetlights, just the dim glow of our headlights bouncing off the cracked pavement. As we pulled up, we saw a few other cars parked haphazardly along the dirt path leading to what looked like an old-school building. The structure was massive, looming in the dark, its windows either shattered or boarded up. Someone had spray-painted "Enter if you dare" across the main doors, which stood slightly ajar. There was music coming from inside, but not the usual bass-heavy party beats. It was something eerie, almost like an old vinyl record playing a waltz, distorted and looping on repeat. I chalked it up to someone trying to set the mood. After all, it was Halloween weekend. We walked inside and were greeted by a surprisingly well-lit interior. The long, empty corridors were lined with flickering candles, casting erratic shadows against the peeling walls. People were scattered throughout the open rooms, drinking, laughing, and dancing. At first, it felt like any other party, except for the fact that everyone seemed a little off. There were no costumes, no Halloween decorations, no traditional party setup. Everyone was dressed in regular clothes, and they all seemed to be in their own little worlds. Some were standing perfectly still, just staring at the walls. Others were whispering to each other in hushed, urgent tones. Nobody seemed particularly interested in the newcomers, us. One of my friends, Jake, nudged me and whispered, "Dude, is it just me, or does this not feel like a normal party?" I had to agree. Something wasn't right. A woman with dark hair and a blank expression walked up to us, handing each of us a small glass filled with an amber liquid. "Drink," she said, smiling, but not in a friendly way. More like she was testing us. I shook my head, politely declining, but I saw some of my friends take sips. Jake grimaced. "Tastes weird," he muttered, but he downed it anyway. Not long after, I noticed something truly unsettling. The people who had been standing still earlier had turned their heads in unison, toward us. They weren't blinking. They weren't talking, just staring. "Okay, I'm officially creeped out," my other friend Maya whispered. "I think we should go." We turned to head for the exit, but the door we had come through was now shut. Not just shut, there was no door at all. The frame was there, but it led to a solid brick wall. I felt my stomach drop. "What the hell is going on?" Jake asked, his voice laced with panic. The music shifted, slowing to a near halt, and that's when I saw it. The people around us, the ones who had been drinking, were changing. Their faces were stretching, their mouths widening into two large grins. Their eyes, once normal, had turned completely black. Maya screamed, and that seemed to snap everyone into action. We ran, darting through corridors, searching for any way out. The flickering candles barely provided enough light, and with each turn, we were met with another bricked-up exit, another hallway that seemed to lead nowhere. Then we saw him, the one person who looked normal, a guy standing near an old rusted staircase, waving us over. "This way," he shouted. We didn't have a choice. We followed him, sprinting up the stairs two at a time, our breath coming out in ragged gasps. He led us to a small window, just big enough to crawl through. "Jump! Now!" he urged. One by one, we squeezed through, landing hard on the ground outside. My legs ached from the impact, but I didn't care. We were out. The guy followed us, slamming the window shut behind him. "Run to your car, don't look back," he ordered. We didn't question it. We sprinted, fumbling for keys, piling into the car as fast as we could. As we peeled out of there, I dared to glance in the rearview mirror. The people inside weren't chasing us. They were standing at the windows, watching, smiling. Nobody said a word on the drive back. The next day, I tried to find out more about the building, but no records existed of any abandoned school in that area. The road we had driven down didn't even show up on any maps. It was like the place never existed. None of us spoke about that night again. But sometimes, I wonder what would have happened if we had stayed just a little longer. I moved into my new apartment about 3 months ago. It wasn't anything special, just a small, one-bedroom place in a quiet complex on the outskirts of town. The rent was cheap, and my landlord barely communicated, which I actually liked. I kept to myself, went to work, and spent most of my free time at home. For the first month, everything was completely normal. Then, little things started happening. At first, it was subtle. I'd come home and find my closet door slightly open when I was sure I had closed it. My TV remote would be on the floor instead of the couch. My fridge door would be cracked open just enough to make me wonder if I had left it that way. I figured I was just being forgetful. Stress from work, lack of sleep, all that. But then one night, I woke up to something that sent a chill through me. The sound of footsteps. They weren't coming from the apartment above or outside in the hallway. They were inside, in my apartment. I held my breath, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The footsteps were slow, deliberate, like someone was trying to move quietly but not quite succeeding. I reached for my phone, but my hand was shaking so badly that I nearly dropped it. Then, just as suddenly as they started, the footsteps stopped. I waited, listening, afraid to move. After what felt like an eternity, I finally forced myself to sit up and turn on my bedside lamp. The room was empty. I grabbed the nearest object I could use as a weapon, a heavy book from my nightstand, and crept toward my bedroom door. I peeked into the living room. Nothing. I checked the front door. It was still locked. I even checked the windows. Also locked. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe I had been dreaming. But the next morning, when I was getting ready for work, I noticed something that made my stomach twist into knots. My front door's deadbolt was unlocked. I knew for a fact that I had locked it the night before. I always did. I lived alone. No one else had a key. That's when I started to feel like I wasn't just being forgetful. Someone had been in my apartment. I went to the landlord, but he was completely uninterested. "If there's no sign of forced entry, there's not much I can do," he told me with a shrug. That night, I placed a chair under the doorknob of my bedroom door before going to sleep, just in case. I woke up around 3 a.m. to the sound of something scraping against the wall. A slow, dragging noise, like someone running their fingernails along the paint. My entire body tensed. I reached for my phone and turned on the flashlight. My closet door was open, not just slightly cracked this time. Open. I grabbed the chair I had wedged against my door, ready to swing it at anything that moved. But again, my apartment was empty. I barely slept the rest of the night. I called my best friend the next day, telling her everything. She tried to convince me I was just stressed, but I could tell even she didn't fully believe that. The next day at work, I got a text from an unknown number. It was just one sentence. "Why did you move the chair?" I nearly dropped my phone. I hadn't told anyone about the chair. I didn't even respond. I went straight to my landlord again, demanding he change the locks. This time, he agreed. Probably because I looked like I was about to have a breakdown. I stayed at my friend's place that night. When I returned the next evening, my door had a brand new lock. I felt a little better, but not much. I double-checked every room, every closet, every possible hiding spot before finally allowing myself to relax. That night, I slept with a knife under my pillow. For the first time in weeks, I didn't hear anything strange. I thought maybe, just maybe, it was finally over. Then, the next morning, I woke up to find something that made my blood run cold. A note slipped under my bedroom door. "Nice try." That was all it said. I packed my things that day and never looked back. I still have no idea who it was or how they were getting in. And honestly, I don't think I ever want to know. I used to think I was careful about my privacy. I never shared personal information online, never clicked on suspicious links, and I always used two-factor authentication. But none of that mattered. It all started about a month ago when I got an email from an old friend. The subject line was simple: "Hey, is this you?" Attached was a screenshot of a social media profile, one that had my picture, my name, and even my location. But it wasn't me. I clicked on the link, and my stomach twisted into knots. The account was completely fake, but everything about it looked real. There were pictures of me, pictures that weren't even on my public profiles. Some were from my private Instagram, others were ones I had sent to friends over text. I had no idea how this person got them. At first, I assumed it was just some weird coincidence. Maybe someone found my pictures online and decided to use them. But then the posts started appearing. At first, they were normal things. Photos of places I had been to recently, captions that sounded just like something I would say. But then they got personal. A post appeared that read, "I had trouble sleeping last night. Kept hearing weird noises outside my window." That was strange because I had heard noises the night before. It was probably just a coincidence, I told myself. Until the next post. "Someone tried my doorknob last night. I think I should start locking my bedroom door." That wasn't a coincidence, because that actually happened. I locked my door that night. I kept my phone in my hand, waiting for something else to happen, but nothing did. I barely slept. The next morning, I reported the fake account, and within hours, it was gone. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt sick. Whoever had made that account wasn't just some random catfish. They knew things about me. Later that day, I got a message from an unknown number. "Why did you delete me?" I didn't respond. I blocked the number, but the messages didn't stop. A new number texted me, then another, and another. They were all different, but the message was always the same. "Why did you delete me?" I stopped answering calls from unknown numbers. I deleted my social media apps. I even considered changing my phone number, but part of me didn't want to believe this was real. Then, one night, I came home and noticed something that made my blood run cold. My front door was unlocked. I knew I had locked it before I left. I always double-checked. But now, the door was slightly open, like someone had forgotten to close it all the way. I stood there, frozen, staring at the dark gap between the door and the frame. Every instinct told me to turn around, to call someone, to run. But I stepped inside anyway. The apartment looked the same. Nothing was missing, nothing was out of place. But I knew, deep down, that someone had been inside. That night, I slept with a knife under my pillow. For a few days, nothing happened. I convinced myself I was being paranoid. I checked my locks 10 times before bed. I started carrying pepper spray. I tried to move on. Then, another message. "Did you change your password?" My heart dropped. I checked my email, my bank accounts, everything. I had changed all my passwords weeks ago, but now I couldn't log into anything. My passwords had been changed again. Whoever this was, they were inside my accounts. They were inside my life. And then came the final message. "I miss you. See you tonight." I didn't sleep. I stayed up, every light on, gripping the knife in my hands. But nothing happened. The next day I packed my things and left. I don't know if they followed me. I don't know if they ever really left. But I still check my phone every night, half expecting to see another message. "I miss you. See you tonight." And I wonder, what would have happened if I had stayed?